Ladies and gentlemen, for the longest time I believed that God Valley is the most epic war that happened in the recent century. There are only gonna be two events even more hyped than this one. The War of Joy Boy against 20 Nation 900 years ago, and the final War of One Piece. But I always also said that Marineford is a better story, objectively better. Because at the end of the day, yes, God Valley is hype. But better storytelling is about drama, it's about emotion, it's about crying like a baby. Like the moment that Whitebeard died, the moment that Ace died, all of those small moments that we still remember. I watched Marineford 50 times. So, to me that was a better story, this was a more impactful and epic moment. But now there is a window of opportunity. There is one chance that might happen in the follow chapters. They're gonna end up proving that God Valley is even a superior plot and superior story. And I'm gonna tell you why. To me, wars and fights are not as enjoyable as drama. Yes, this is a shonen manga, and even I am guilty of talking hours and hours about power level. At the end of the day, power and power alone will make Luffy the Pirate King and will cause the downfall of Insama. And the only reason all of these events are so glorious is because Oda knows how to write the action moment. I'm talking about the 5% of time that he does not off-screen a fight and allow us to enjoy the moment. There is a lot of elements in any battle that I'm looking for to enjoy it. And one of them that actually matters a lot to me is how much suffer and pain characters are gonna endure. A good fight is basically the representation of a mental struggle. And I believe God Valley War is about to show us exactly that. A lot of you might say, Rox, what the hell are you doing making videos? You should be fighting to getting Rox Review channel with nearly 250 subscribers back from YouTube because you were hijacked and they stole your livelihood and now they're not giving it back. And I'm saying that I don't think I'm gonna win that war. I'm still fighting, but I don't think that I'm gonna win. That's for certain. And you know what, thinking about that, made me want to make this video. Because a good fight, a good struggle should actually lead to some character change. If you face a big struggle, you cannot come out of it as the same person. You need to change, and this is exactly what we need from a good action scene in any story. If the writer want to give us an epic war, I demand that characters come out as different people. Because because if the fight is easy, you can just punch somebody and that's over. But if the fight demands every bit of your soul, you need to come out of that as a different person. And that is exactly what is happening under the surface in God Valley. A lot of characters are different before and after God Valley. So it only makes sense to me that God Valley changed a lot of legendary characters. And we're already seeing some of that as obvious as day. What I'm talking about change, I'm talking about Dragon, a marine who chose to save Shanks. A marine, the son of Garp himself, realizing there is no justice in this damn place. Dragon saw how evil, cruel, and bastard the celestial dragon can be. This battle, God Valley, perhaps changed Dragon above all and turned him to the worst criminal in history. Also, if we take a close look, it is very obvious that Roger is a different man after God Valley. I'm not talking about the fact that he's no longer a gooner. I mean, maybe he was, and I have no problem with the fact that he was a gooner, because God Valley is basically a rewrite of the Trojan War when the 1,000 ship goes to save the most beautiful woman. So I like that. I like that part. And also, don't forget that the person who kidnapped Helen of Troy killed Achilles, the strongest person on that battlefield. So this also could create some patterns about galling the man responsible for this kidnap to kill Rox Xebec at the end of the day. This might happen not because of his own strengths, because of, I don't know. I also like this idea that Emu turned Xebec into a monster and Garp and Roger had to kill him. I don't think Emu is that strong to turn Xebec into that creature, but this also could be the case. Again, anything can happen. But Gol D is also different. I mean, look at every single page that we see him. In what page, panel, chapter, Roger ever talked about One Piece? He dedicated the last part of his life to find One Piece. But in this flashback, no One Piece. Nobody talks about One Piece. Roger has no plan to find One Piece. Why? Because he was not interested in One Piece back then. Something happened in God Valley that Roger said, okay, what the hell is going on? I'm fighting a black creature with red eyes, and somehow Rocks claims that this woman or man is the world? What the hell is going on in this world? Let me dig deeper. Let me go and find One Piece, all the hidden histories of the world, and let me kill myself. If that means starting a new generation of piracy, again, perhaps the Roger plan was creating millions and millions of ships. I think that was his plan. Roger started the greatest era of piracy, so when the doomsday come, a lot of ships be available so people can be saved. So Roger changed. I believe the only reason that Gol D Roger was interested in One Piece is what he witnessed in God Valley. Also, Kaido is a very different character in this flashback than he was in Wano. Kaido is basically the worst version of nihilistic beliefs that one person can have. Kaido finds no value in this life, and his only plan was to destroy the world for no purpose. Perhaps Kaido realized that no matter what pirates do in the new world or what everybody else do in the rest of the world, at the end of the day, all of those actions are meaningless because this world is being governed by a celestial creature like Imu. And perhaps the fight that he had with Im-sama is the reason that he finds no value, no purpose in this life. He only wants to destroy the world because at the end of the day, this world does not belong to its inhabitants. My next case is about Whitebeard, and this is more leaning toward the theory than fact. Whitebeard was very strange with Teach. He perhaps knew that Teach is the son of Xebec. He probably knew that, somehow understood that this is the son of Xebec, accepted him. When Teach and Shanks wanted to go in a private adventure, keep in mind, Shanks and Teach left Whitebeard's ship. Teach gave that scar to Shanks, and nobody on the pirate crew of Whitebeard knew that. Nobody. Whitebeard allowed that and kept that as a secret. When he killed Thatch, Ace wanted to go after him. Whitebeard said, no, don't do it. And even at the end of the last moment of his life, he probably had the opportunity to kill Teach, but he didn't do that. Maybe Whitebeard realized that there is some value, some historical value to the bloodline of Davy. And he couldn't bring himself to abandon Teach, to punish Teach, or to kill Teach, because he knew one day, no matter how screwed up this man is, he will play a role to change the history. And all of that happened because he saw the importance of Davy clan in the God Valley War. But I truly wonder why Garp didn't switch side after seeing everything in God Valley. He saw more than any Marine how corrupt and evil the world government can get. And he also realized the person who's actually signing his paycheck is the king of the world, a godlike dark creature. So for the life of me, I have no idea why Garp remained as a Marine and didn't abandon them just like his son Dragon. I genuinely expect Garp to come up with a good reason that why him staying as a Marine makes sense. And of course, Rayleigh finally accepted that I am in love with Shaki, but I'm also gonna stay in an open relationship, which is an improvement from a bachelor. It's not much of an improvement, but it is an improvement, so I'm gonna give it to Rayleigh because he's a cool dude. I mean, calling him a dude is raw. Cool senpai, that's better. So yeah, also Rayleigh also changed. Garling, probably he also changed too. I expect the new version of Garling to be much stronger. Perhaps after getting his ass beat by Xebec like he was a scumbag that he is, he probably decided to be stronger. But again, to me, Shamrock is probably significantly superior to this version of Garling. I hope so. I'm not saying that because he's a copy version of Shanks. I'm saying that because he's definitely have some big major role to play at the end game, as we saw this before. He was one of the most top 16 characters at the end game before we get to see his face. Oda has some plan for Shamrock, trust me. Don't trust me about Garling, but trust me about Shamrock, and have faith in me about Shanks, because I know Shanks is good. So, yeah, God Valley changed a lot of characters, that's for certain. And if we actually see this payoff in next 2 or 3 chapters, that's all I'm asking. We're gonna have a God Valley that changed some of the greatest people in the world into a different version of themselves. This drama, this effect, this mental breakdown is exactly the key that can potentially, to me, to my eyes, make God Valley not a superior event, but a superior storytelling than Marineford War. Thanks for being here, and I see you all beautiful people at Laugh Tale. Also subscribe and help us regain 100k as soon as possible in this channel too.